I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. In case you've never been here before, then welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. Today's a very special day, if you couldn't tell by the title of this video, because today we're gonna get naked. Gotcha. No, but really, I have never reviewed the Naked palette before on my channel. So today's the first time I got naked, reloaded. I also never had the original Naked palette. And in case you don't know, Urban Decay is the cosmetics company that made the original Naked palette. It was a staple in many people's lives for a very long time because it contained very nude shades, which is what majority of people wore. Then this palette was discontinued recently, well, 2018 I believe it was discontinued, and they sold the last few of them. And now Urban Decay Cosmetics has remade the Naked palette and it is called Naked Reloaded. Today I'm going to be reviewing this palette and showing you live swatches, and I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. I honestly don't think I even own a nude eyeshadow palette, so this is going to be a first for me. If you would like to experience this journey with me and you want to hang around for a while, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button down there and change it from red to gray. And if you want to hit the notification bell so that you can be alerted every time I upload a new video, that would also be awesome, but you don't have to. Whether you do that or not, if you want to see what this eyeshadow palette looks like, what the swatches look like, and what it looks like on my eyes, then just keep hanging out and keep watching this video. The Naked Reloaded palette is $44, and that is from the Urban Decay Cosmetics website. The Essential Naked palette featuring 12 all-new eyeshadow shades that redefine neutral with Urban Decay's signature formula. Reinvent, redefine, rethink neutral. Meet the Naked Reloaded eyeshadow palette with 12 all-new universally flattering shades designed for everyone, any age, gender, and skin tone. They're covering everybody with that statement. The new neutrals are here, and they're anything but ordinary. Naked Reloaded is the essential palette with the nudes you'll always need, all in one place. Bonus, we made the 4 outer pans in the palette bigger for the shades you'll use the most. From silky mattes and metallics to iridescent micro shimmers, these 12 versatile shadows contain our mind-blowing formula with its velvety texture, rich color, and extreme blendability. Created with every makeup bag in mind, Naked Reloaded is a game changer. Start with Bribe, a warm ivory matte as the perfect base, and add depth with dimensional metallics like Burn or Distill. We're addicted to Dreamweaver, a cool brown with iridescent 3D sparkle, and Retro, an unexpectedly bright peach matte. No matter where you're headed or who you want to be, Naked Reloaded is all about you, because we all look better naked. Urban Decay is 100% cruelty-free. Okay, that's awesome. I'm actually really excited. I'm actually really excited about this palette. Since I didn't ever get the original Naked palette and I knew that it was full of nude shades, I was really excited about seeing the release of this one. So obviously this is what the unicarton looked like, and then this is what the actual palette looked like. This is actually like really soft. It's not cardboard, it's like, I don't know what this is. It feels like cloth. I don't really know if it is cloth or if it's plastic. Either way though, it's super soft. It feels like it has foam on the inside of it. And it's a really beautiful package on the outside. All the smoke, and it looks brown. And on the back, it just has all of the normal writing that's on the back of palette packaging usually. And this eyeshadow palette is good for 24 months. Wow, that's a long time. Let's go ahead and open it up. Oh, it didn't have a little paper in it. That was surprising. And the mirror has, I guess, a piece of glaze over it, so you can't actually get blinded by it whenever you initially open it and show it to your camera. Good looking out, Urban Decay. So these are really beautiful shades, or it looks like it so far. There's a lot of neutrals, obviously. There's also some like pinky shades and some deeper brown shades. I see what they were talking about where they said they had the 2 pans on the outside that were the biggest, and then the 2 that are inside of those are a little bit smaller but still bigger than the ones in the middle. Then the ones in the middle are the smallest ones. I kind of don't get the organization of the palette though. It's not like mattes in one section, shimmers in one, and then iridescence in another. It's kind of scattered. Like there's a matte, there's what looks like a metallic, there's an iridescent, there's another matte, there's maybe another iridescent or a foil, then another shimmer, then another matte. I don't really get that part of it. I mean, they said the ones that you're gonna use the most on the outside, and then the next outside working toward the middle, I suppose. I'm not really sure exactly, but it still looks like it's a pretty palette, so I'm excited to get into it. We are gonna go ahead and swatch the palette before we actually use it on the eyes and before we see what it looks like on the eyes. I don't think I've ever done a neutral look before. That's gonna be interesting. I guess I'm just always extra and I just like colorful looks, but today is not going to be that day. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and see the swatches. So the first shade is Bribe. It's like a white pinky matte, I guess. It seems very sheer and kind of powdery, honestly. The next shade is called Baked. Ooh, that's pretty. A very shimmery gold. Then we have the shade Angel Fire. Then the shade Retro. Then there's the shade Reputation. Ooh, that's pretty. It's like a bronzy brown. The shade Burn. Wow, it's a deeper bronzy brown. The shade Endgame. Wow, that's the perfect deep matte brown. That swatch though is very splotchy. That's not to say anything about how it's gonna perform on the eyes though. And the next shade is called Dreamweaver. Wow, that's interesting. It's like a brown with almost a duochrome, I guess. Maybe more of an iridescent of white. Then we have the shade Distilled. That's a very pretty brown to me. It's almost like a yellow brown. Then there's the shade Bucked. Then the shade Boundaries. I think that one's a little iridescent also. And then the shade Blur. Honestly, blur is my skin tone, definitely. I get why they named it blur. It just kind of blurs everything, disappears. So that is all 12 shades. I will also insert photos of the shades with flash and without flash so that you can see what they look like. Now I know the swatches don't really mean quite as much as everything else. After I finished swatching, I went ahead and put my brows on, carved them out, and put a base down on my eyes. It is not the Urban Decay Primer Potion because I do not have any more of that left. It is my P. Louise base in shade 01. Way too light, almost white. I wish I would have gotten either the darker one or just went ahead and got white. So my lids are primed and ready. The swatches on this palette weren't the greatest that I've swatched with the way they felt. They weren't like super creamy and soft, but they weren't like super chalky and dry feeling. They were just a little more on the powdery side, but not like unbearably so. But in all honesty, swatches really mean nothing. They're just to see what the colors are and what shades are actually in palettes. They don't really say anything about the performance on the eye. The look that I'm about to do does. I'm gonna start by taking this Profusion big fluffy brush into the shade Bribe, and I'm just gonna use that to put shadow all over my lid. This also isn't something that I really mind, but there's a lot of kickback in the pan. Kind of quite a bit actually in this shade. I don't know if I'll be able to show you without blinding you with the mirror. Can you see how much comes up? I don't know if you could. And just lightly patting that everywhere, just to make sure that any base that's still tacky is just kind of set so I don't get any creasing and so that all the other shadows can have something to blend with. Now I'm gonna take my M513 into the shade Blur, and I'm gonna use that more so as like a transition shade just to kind of blend the crease colors into the shade Bribe. Also quite a bit of kickback in the pan with this one. I'm not really noticing any fallout because I tap my brush off every time I go into the palette, so it's not really gonna fall out unless I just build it up a lot, but there's quite a bit of kickback. I mean, well, so far, even though this does have a lot of kickback in the pan, it's blending very nicely with the first shade I put down, which these colors are so light. I don't feel like there's really too much that can go wrong aside from this deeper one being a little patchy. It's not being patchy. That's the only thing that I can anticipate going wrong with it. But it looks really nice on the eye. It's blending in nicely. It's a nice smooth gradient from the inner crease to the outer crease, to the brow bone. I mean, you can see the blend that it has versus this side. The shade I'm using is really just my skin tone, so it just makes it look like it's deepened. That's all. I take back what I said though. There is quite a bit of fallout right here. Not sure if you can see it on camera because it is so close to my skin tone. I can see it in the mirror though. It's built up right here on the edge of my cheek. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe that away. The fallout dusted away very easily. Now I'm gonna take my Morphe M514. It's a little bit smaller of a blending brush into the shade Endgame. That should deepen this up quite a bit. I think I'm gonna go for like a little halo eye moment. Create some kind of deeper, like smoky look maybe. This is the deepest shade in the palette, so we're definitely going there. There's already fallout though, and there's a lot of kickback in this shade as well. So far I've only used mattes, and in every matte there's been a lot of kickback and quite a bit of fallout. Actually, you know, I've got to say, despite the fact of there being a lot of kickback in the pan and there being a lot of fallout, this is blending beautifully. I mean, those colors are going together so nicely, and it's not patchy at all. It's not like bunching up anywhere. It's not skipping. I'm gonna keep building it up to see and test out if it's going to at all, but so far it's perfect. I've pretty much gotten the shade Endgame as deep and dark and placed as I want it. So now I'm just gonna take a clean Luxie 229 brush. It's just a bigger fluffy brush, and just blend out the edges around it just to make sure it's got a nice seamless, beautiful blend. I honestly don't think it's gonna take much blending at all because it already kind of blended itself in. Just wanna kind of work the edges out, make sure it's nice and perfect. Make sure we don't have any happy little accidents.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Ah, that is beautiful. I am gonna go ahead and dip my JS2 into some translucent powder and just dust away this fallout. I wanna use the powder to make sure I don't push any of the fallout in rather than dusting it away. Now we're left with a nice clean edge. You know, if we're stacking 3 shades on top of each other, that worked out really well, and that's really, really beautiful. Now taking my Morphe M124, I'm gonna go into the shade Dreamweaver because that one has been calling my name since I first opened this palette and swatched it. And I'm gonna start with using a brush dry without spraying it with any setting spray or without trying to use my finger. I just wanna see what kind of payoff I can get with just a dry brush regularly. Then if we have to, we'll go in after that with other ways of application. I am tapping off excess just in case that's what's left on the brush. And let's see. Yeah, I barely see any shimmer that came off, but a lot of fallout happened. So there's nothing on my eyelid except some glittery pieces. Like I can see some shininess happening, but no pigment and a bunch of fallout. That was disappointing. Okay, so I am going to wet my brush now. Since on the website it said to use Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray to wet the brush with shimmers, I'm going to do that. I guess to be fair, it did say to wet your brush for shimmers, so I don't know why I was expecting it to work without wetting the brush. Okay, so brush was wet. Now tapping off any excess just in case. And now applying. I just don't see a lot of payoff with that. Actually, what I'm about to do real quick is I am going to pack a bunch of setting powder underneath my eyes so that I can just keep going with the eyeshadow and not keep having to stop every time. We should be able to avoid any fallout now with this much setting powder under my eyes. So I'm gonna go into Dreamweaver again. I'm gonna wet my brush with the all-nighter spray. However, this time I'm not going to tap off the excess from the brush. As much as it pains me to do that, because I know there's gonna be fallout everywhere, still gonna do it. That was a little better, but I still don't feel like it's as powerful as I want it to be. I'm gonna go with just my pinky and then put that shade up there. Is it just so close to the brown shade that I'm not seeing it? Is that what's happening? Oh, that helped a lot. Okay, now I'm seeing it. I'm noticing now though that this shade is more like, this probably wasn't a good one for me to use on camera. If you can't see the iridescence, it just looks like the brown that I put in my crease because it is iridescent. Well, it's got like a white reflect in it. Maybe you can see it on my finger. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so it's that darker brown shade, but it has the reflect. So you can see the light reflecting off of it. And that's what's happening on my eyelid. That's probably why I couldn't see it as much to begin with whenever I put it on. Granted, it was not going on very pigmented in the first place. That's for sure. But in its defense, it is a darker brown color to begin with, so it was kind of blending in with a color that was already down anyway. Maximum pigmentation definitely happens from your finger though, no doubt. That is a really pretty shade though. It goes really perfect with that crease color. You can kind of see the reflection of it on my eyelid. It looks like a lighter brown. I actually really like that. Now, just for the sake of trying it, I'm gonna go ahead and put some more P. Louise base right on the center of my eyelid. Not a whole lot, just about that much. Just to give me a little open spot. And now I'm gonna go in with my Morphe M204. It's another flat packer brush into the shade Barely Baked. That's like a light golden shimmery shade. I didn't wet the brush or anything, and I'm just gonna pack this on top of where I put the P. Louise base. Now I'm just gonna try and blend those edges out so that it isn't such a harsh circle and where it goes more on the lid and kind of just fades out to the sides. That gold shade is beautiful. I'm gonna take some of it on my pinky and just see what kind of payoff I can get right on top of that. Ooh, wow. Oh my gosh. That is gorgeous. Okay, definitely maximum payoff with your pinky or with your finger, period. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this eye over here. And once I finish that, I will be right back. I'm gonna take the Luxie 141 mini round brush. I know I always use this one or the other one, but it's just so easy to use these little tiny ones right underneath there and keep it like small sections. I'm gonna go into the shade Endgame again, and that's the darkest brown shade, making sure I tap off every little bit of excess that's on this brush. And just gonna lightly take that into the lower lash. And now using my Luxie 131, it's the mini angled blending brush. I'm gonna go into the shade Blur. That was the one that I used as my transition shade. And I'm just gonna blend out Endgame on my lower lash line. Yes, now we have that like soft, delicate, smoky blend. I love that, that's so gorgeous. All right, so now that I have the lower lash line smoked out, I'm gonna go ahead and put mascara on my lower lashes, some blush and highlighter, and then I'll let you know what I think about the palette. Okay guys, went ahead and finished up the face and the lips. I used Pretty Vulgar blush and highlighter, and I used Jeffree Star Velour liquid lipstick in the shade Human Nature, the Gerard Cosmetics lip pencil in the shade Night Shift, and the Whoosh Beauty spin-on lip gloss in the shade Beige Frosted. And that brought together the entire look, which I think is pretty bomb. This palette, let's just talk about the things I did not like. That was the immense kickback that you got when you tapped in the pan. That was also the kind of really terrible fallout that happened as I was putting it on my eyes. Not to mention the fact that the first shimmer I used really didn't show up, but it was a brown shimmer that was the same shade as the matte that I had down already. So I had to cut a little bit of slack because once I used the gold on the center of my eye, that went on with a brush, no problem, and it actually showed up. Of course, it wasn't as shimmery as it was whenever I used my finger with it, because just about any shimmer you use will almost always be better with your finger. Just the oils in your finger mixing with the shimmer just make it perform a lot better. So even despite those drawbacks, those did not affect the blendability and the pigment that went on my eye, and the fact that none of these were patchy when I put them on. So for me personally, I really like this palette and I'm glad I got it, and it's not gonna be returned, because this is the first palette I've had of nudes. Well, except for stuff like my Urban Decay Kristen Leanne palette, this is the actual first nude palette I had, but it's like 5 shades. But I really like this. This is a really nice color story. I don't understand how it's laid out, but it's got a really wide variety of a lot of nudes that you can use for everyday looks. And I suggest either not putting on your face makeup first, or if you don't like fallout, or if you don't like the fact that it has a lot of kickback in the pan, then it's probably not for you. It's not something that you'll want, because there is no way around that, I don't think. It just seems like that's going to happen. But if you can get over that, the blendability is amazing, and there is no patchiness that I ran into at all. And this look is so gorgeous with the eyes. I mean, none of it is bad. It blended so good. I'm so happy with it. It's not a super colorful look, it's just a spotlight eye, but it's a very pretty spotlight eye. I like this palette a lot. I'm so happy that you guys got to see me naked for the first time on camera, because I'm so used to doing colorful looks that it's so weird to be naked. Anyway guys, those were the ups and downs of the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. For me, it's a yes. It's really gonna be up to you ultimately if you think it's a yes or not, based on the fallout and the cake back in the pan. I can get over that. As long as the shadow works on my eyes, I'm good. Now, if we run into a palette that has patchiness and it just doesn't look good and work, then we have a problem. But in the pan, I'm okay. I hope you guys had so much fun hanging out with me for this video, and I hope that you got something out of it and that you can decide for yourself if you want the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. If you want to see this look and more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. My username is the same for everything, it's just at ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing else from coming to my channel, I hope you gain at least one thing, and that is to always remember and never forget that you're beautiful. Bye guys. You know what? If you're still here, you might as well just hit this little circle in the middle so that you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Plus, there's 2 boxes on either side of that circle, and one of them will let you watch the previous video I uploaded, while the other one will let you watch the video that's suggested for you based on your previous watch history. You might as well also hit one of those so you can go ahead and watch another one.